What's that? Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 9th Board of Selectmen's meeting from the town of Webster. If we could please stand to take the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. First item on our agenda is the regular session minutes for the August 2nd meeting. Any questions, corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular session meeting minutes from August 2nd, 2021.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Clabert?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Thank you, Doug, for doing double duty for Courtney tonight. First item on our agenda is recognition of police appointments, and we have a cadre, a big group of police officers. And Chief, I'll invite you up to maybe speak first if you could, but it is always a pleasure to welcome all of our officers, and especially our officers that have recently been promoted and new officers to the town. So, Chief, I'll turn it over to you.
So these are the COVID kids. These are all the people we hired and promoted during COVID. And what we normally do, as you all are aware, we like to bring them in front of the board for a presentation. So we had so many tonight, so I just have a brief little background on some of them, just on all of them actually, just to familiarize the board with them and tell you a little bit about their accomplishments and some new faces that we have here. So first off is Sergeant Joseph Reed. We hired Sergeant Reed in 2010. He was promoted to sergeant on November 15th of 2020. Joe's an Army veteran. He's got a bachelor's degree in human services from Fitchburg State University. Very active in the community. He's a staple at all of our community policing events, active with the Reconciliation House as a board member there. He served as a detective from June 2nd, 2019 up until he was promoted and did very well there with Detective Ham. He is instrumental in our evidence unit. We just had an audit where we had the changing of the guard, if you will. Lieutenant Wentworth was in charge of the evidence for a number of years, probably more than he'd like to remember. So that's a huge portion of our department where there's a lot of, obviously, there's a lot of liability there and there's a lot of accountability that goes along with that. So Lieutenant Wentworth has subsequently relinquished control to Sergeant Reed, who's been involved with that and is responsible for that unit. And we've had, I'd like to say that our evidence control unit that we have is second to none. We've actually had other departments come and look at our evidence to see how we do it, how we handle it, and categorize it. And that's kudos to Lieutenant Wentworth and his team that he's done. They've done a phenomenal job in that. So I have the utmost confidence that that's going to continue to be the outstanding unit that it is. He's currently working the 11 to 7 shift. He's been enjoying a couple of weeks off. He came in on vacation. I dragged him in, but he's very fortunate. I was thrilled that Joe was promoted to sergeant. He's going to be a huge asset going forward as part of our command staff, and I look forward to many great things for the years to come. Our next promotion was Sergeant Robert LaRochelle. So Sergeant LaRochelle kind of had a roundabout way to get here. He came to us from the Worcester Police Department. If you remember back in 2009, there was an entire academy class was laid off. And we were civil service back then, and Officer LaRochelle was one of the finalists that came and interviewed for the job. So we ended up hiring him, which was great. And he fit right in, and the opportunity came for him to go back to Worcester a short while. When did you go back to Worcester? What year is it? 13. So he went back to Worcester in 2013, and fortunately for us, he came back in 2014, and he's done very well. He's was promoted to sergeant in May 16th of 2021. So he's got a few duties with us. He's the CJIS representative, which is in charge of our criminal justice information system. So he's in charge of maintaining that. Does all of our NIBRs, which is some of those numbers that I give to you folks during my biannual reports, as well as when I prepare the town meeting report. He prepares all those numbers for me to present to you. One of the most important things that Sergeant LaRochelle has done, he's been instrumental in our field training officer program, which is something that we started back when I was lieutenant. And he, along with Deputy Chief Wheeler and several of the other Sergeant Reed, have done some phenomenal work with that. So he's our FTO program manager. So our FTO program is instrumental in shaping the officers that we get, whether they are lateral transfers or such as the 3 that we have in the academy, is to making them into the Webster police officers that we want. Not only do they learn, our policies and our procedures, but they also learn about the Webster, the way we do things here, and how we're a little bit better we're a lot better than everybody else around here, and what we expect. And it's really instrumental into shaping the culture of the police department. And Sergeant LaRochelle's been a huge part of that, coming up with the task book and overseeing the field training program that's consisted of, a lot of our successful officers have come through that program as field training officers. A lot of them have moved on to sergeants and attained rank, and I expect that to be to continue long as this program consists. He's currently working as the split shift, which is a combination of 3 to 11, 11 to 7. Having done that shift for 3 years, I can tell you it does take a toll. It's tough because you have a double scheduled in there in the middle, but it's a lot of fun because you get the best of both worlds. So Sergeant LaRochelle's been doing great things on that shift. Our first lateral that we hired during COVID was Officer Thomas Motika. Officer Motika was a transfer from Wilbraham, so we all thought he was going to come with like Friendly's ice cream, because that's where Friendly's ice cream is from. Fun fact. He began in Wilbraham of January 3rd, 2011. He came to us in September 13th, 2020. Officer Motika has an associate's degree in criminal justice from Mount Wachusett, and he's also enrolled in a bachelor's degree at Anna Maria College in criminal justice. He is a sexual assault investigator, a RAD instructor, which is rape aggressive defense instructor, which we're going to start rolling out classes for that. He serves in our Marine Patrol and is also A-RIDE certified, which is a higher level of, every officer gets field sobriety testing in the academy. A-RIDE is the next level to help them detect people under the influence of drugs and other stimulants. So we're thrilled. He's been a great asset to us. Another officer, the next officer that we hired was another one, we stole another one from Framingham Police Department. Nick Caruso. He transferred to us on January 3rd, 2021 was his first day. He was hired in Framingham March of 2014. He has a master's degree in criminal justice from Westfield State University, where he also holds a bachelor's degree as well. He is a background investigator that he obtained that training while in Framingham, which we'll certainly be utilizing that as we go forward with our hiring process in the future. He's also a tactical medicine instructor that he was certified through the Homeland Security, and he's also CPR first aid responder instructor, which will be very beneficial because a lot of our CPR, a lot of our in-service now is going to more of an online format, but we still have to have that in-person CPR first aid, so we've been fortunate to have the great partnership that we have with Webster EMS, but now nice to have somebody in-house to provide that instruction as well. And last but certainly not least is Officer Alex Johnson. Officer Johnson is our latest transfer from Littleton PD. He just began on August 1st of 2021. He started Littleton PD on November 8th of 2018. He also is A-RIDE certified, and he's very proactive with motor vehicle and can't wait to cut his teeth out here in Webster. He's got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from University of Phoenix, and he's currently enrolled at Anna Maria College in a Master's of Criminal Justice. He is currently in our field training officer program in his second week, so you'll see him out and about riding with some field training officers. For the lateral transfers, we schedule it for 12 weeks, but the nice thing about the lateral transfers is they already have some basic police experience, so again, we just kind of show them how we do things in Webster and what our expectations are, and it helps to make them what we're looking for in police from our police officers, but it also speeds up the process because they have that experience. So many times they don't have to go that entire 12 weeks, so it allows us to get them on the road sooner, as opposed to somebody like our 3 that are in the academy will take the entire 12 weeks and sometimes possibly longer, just because it's policing is a lot more complex now than it was, even 5 years ago. So those are our COVID kids, our 2 newly appointed sergeants, and our 3 lateral transfers. I'll be coming back in October. October 4th is our graduation date for our 3 officers that are in the academy. Very excited to get them out and running, and by then we should be fully staffed. Knock on wood.
Thank you. I'm looking at Sergeant Reed and Sergeant LaRochelle. I think they're very happy to be called kids, although yes, sir. Officer Motika, Officer Caruso, Officer Johnson look more like kids, and I feel older every single time I get to welcome, new officers in and promotions. Gentlemen, thank you for your service, sergeants in town, and gentlemen, thank you for joining the force. You've got a great chief and a great command staff as well. So welcome, be safe out there, and I'll welcome any comments from the... I think we all say welcome.
Yeah.
So,
And stay safe.
stay safe. Yep.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to the families, too.
Congratulations,
coming
nice to
in.
meet you. Welcome aboard, nice to meet you. Welcome aboard, nice to meet you. Welcome aboard, nice to meet you. Nice job again, I'll send you heads. Become a resident photographer.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, glad to have you. Chief. Yeah. Perfect.
Welcome. I know, we were talking about pictures.
I haven't opened it.
I'll send them.
That's all right. Okay, we're just going to check the folks that are online. We need to just announce the folks that are on the Zoom call so the public is aware.
If anyone on the Zoom call can hear me, can you please let me know?
So, okay, Chris Smith, can you hear us okay? Hang on, we can't hear you yet. Chris, can you hear us? Yes, okay, he's on mute. He said, yes, I can, thank you. Judy Keegan, can you hear us? If you can, yeah, just come off mute and let us know if you can hear us, please. Judy, we're just gonna check our wires here.
Hey, I'll just tell Kim I'll call her on my phone.
We'll tease Doug a little bit because Courtney is not here. I'm sure Courtney would have had this squared away. And I know I'll have trouble with Kim's last name. Tevalemola? Okay, so those are the folks that are on Zoom in accordance with our open meetings law. We need to identify them for our meeting. Next item on the agenda is a subject called Jennifer Sullivan, Health Director. So Doug, I have to ask, does this mean that Jen's coming back to work for us, being on the agenda?
She hasn't quite left yet, so she had a great last day.
So we're actually here to honor and thank Jen. Jen, you're welcome to come on up. We won't make you give a speech if you don't want to.
I think we should have your family join you as well. Here, I'll grab us can have the comfortable seat. Bob, you get that.
So now we meet the support team officially behind the...
Definitely, yes,
yeah,
for sure.
your successes, and the reason for your successes.
That's right.
So thanks for coming, Jen. You know, it's a sad day as well, because we've lost you to another town. But, I think it's appropriate to have you come on in and just have us give a formal thank you to you. We've had many conversations over the years. Simply put, to me, you've done an incredible job. And you shined even more so through COVID, which we hope we'll never, ever have to, go through again, especially with Delta.
That's right.
So what I'll do is, when I open it up to the board, if they have any comments or certainly well wishes.
Thank you, Jen, I think you've done a bang-up job, and we enjoyed having you around us and part of the team.
Thank you. I enjoyed
Good luck in
being
the,
here.
in the future.
Thank you very much.
Yes, congratulations, and thank you for all the years of service to Webster.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you for all you did during that COVID crisis. You helped pull the town together and get over it.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Well, based on the comments, you will be missed. Thank you so much for all your commitment and dedication, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. And thank you all for your support as well during such a difficult time. I wouldn't have been able to also do it without Doug. He was my right-hand man for sure. So I think Webster will always be my home. I'm so thankful for the opportunities it allowed me. It's very difficult to go. This wasn't an easy decision at all. So you all are appreciated for sure.
Well, our feelings are the same. Doug, you have a few words?
Well, I didn't want to make you cry, so I was going to make some joke like, glad to get rid of you or something, but we're going to be friends forever, so we'll be in touch.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jen, we do have a nice recognition plaque here for you. If you bear with me, I'll give it a quick read. In recognition of outstanding service, honoring Town of Webster Director of Public Health, Jennifer R. Sullivan. Tonight, we, the Webster Board of Selectmen, join together with the grateful members of our community to recognize Director of Public Health, Jennifer Sullivan, for her 14 years of service to the town of Webster. She was promoted in 2016 as the Director of Public Health. Throughout her tenure, she has led the excellent work in various public health services, including communicable disease control, environmental health services, and emergency medical services coordination and delivery. She played a key role in responding to the historic crisis we've faced in combating the unfolding pandemic COVID-19. Due to her proactive response and recommendations, the town of Webster has been able to maintain low infection rates. She set forth a plan for community vaccinations, leading with her strong equality values and making sure that our most vulnerable community members and those most impacted by the virus were protected. Director of Public Health, Jennifer Sullivan, will be remembered for her caring and generous personality. The Webster Board of Selectmen proudly recognized Jennifer Sullivan upon her departure from a successful tenure with the town of Webster. The Webster Board of Selectmen thanks you wholeheartedly for your hard work and dedication, and are indebted to you for your service and the sacrifices you have made to the town of Webster to make it what it is today. We thank you for your outstanding service and your commitment to the town of Webster, presented with pride on the 9th day of August in the year 2021, and signed by the Board of Selectmen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to your family for all the support they've given you.
I have hand sanitizer on, so thank you so much.
Welcome, Jen. Thank you. We'll miss
Thank
you.
you.
We'll miss you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
you have enough for me there?
Yeah, probably. Thank you so much.
No fist.
No, yes. No.
Yeah. I'll be in touch tomorrow
Yeah.
to see how you're going to do all your work, so.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Good luck.
Good luck to the family.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Jason Piatta, President of the Webster Lake Association. Jason, if you want to come on up. Of course, this is another sad yet happy day. Sad that the Webster Lake Association will be missing you as president. Happy for you personally, you'll be spending more time skiing on the lake.
Yeah. a little bit
Maybe
more
fishing,
time.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, a little bit more time enjoying the lake, so unfortunately, fortunately for the town, I'll still be serving as zoning board, as a zoning board, and also as the planning board, so you're not quite done seeing me yet, and I'm not moving, so, but it's time to step aside and, let a new person take charge. 7 years has been a long time, and I think this board, Administrator Willardson, the past Board of Selectmen, the late John McCullough, Administrator Pam Regis. I had the pleasure of working with both of them, and they were both, ardent supporters of the Lake Association and its environmental preservation goal. Well, just because there is a change of hands doesn't mean that the issues that are present on Webster Lake don't change. And they still are numerous. They will involve tough decisions to maintain the town of Webster's gem. And I know that there are other great people who will come after me and carry on the Lake Association's legacy. And I'm sure that this board and the other boards and other town administrators will support the Lake Association's environmental preservation goals. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. You know, when I was working on putting together the information in the recognition plaque, I thought there were, in my opinion, in the past 30 or so years, there's been two significant events that have benefited our lake. I think the first one that came to mind was the Board of Selectmen back then decided to make sure that the lake was sewered. And then I think the other significant event came to mind was almost 20 years ago when the Webster Lake Association was founded. And I know your mother's a past president,
Yeah.
and we mentioned in here about carrying on the tradition. But it's really important. I think it's because of those two things. Those were huge impacts, positive impacts for our lake. And, what the Webster Lake Association does, I would say very quietly, behind the scenes, should be noted more. I wish we said these things more, not just when, you're changing and retiring as
Right.
president, but, I can't say enough to thank you, to thank your mom for
I
that
think
founding
Gloria Ricker's here as well. She's in charge of water.
back there. And thank you.
So without her, we really wouldn't have a good handle on what's flowing into the lake, what the water quality is in all three ponds. But there's a lot of people that have come before to build the organization up. I know Gloria working with the Last Green Valley to establish the QAP, and the water testing program was really instrumental. Past presidents who had to, develop a plan of how they were going to tackle the issue of the aquatic invasive weed species from encompassing Webster Lake. So there's been a lot of work that's been done before. 7 years, I think I've improved the organization, but there's still a lot of work left to do. I'm sure there's more people that will come and have other similar achievements. So,
Well, I think as I go through and read this, without saying, and you probably said it best, you're one president out of many, and a lot of this, which I'm going to read, kind of has built on that foundation of past presidents and many people who volunteer for the association. So I'll read this if that's okay. In recognition of outstanding service, honoring Webster Lake Association President Jason Piatta. Tonight, we, the Webster Board of Selectmen, join together with the grateful members of our community to recognize Webster Lake Association President Jason Piatta for his 7 years of service as president of the WLA, carrying on a proud family tradition of serving the WLA since its beginning in 2002. The WLA is a nonprofit charitable organization dedicated to enhancing, preserving, and protecting the environmental quality of Webster Lake and its watershed through the promotion of responsible, effective environmental and educational policies. The WLA spends roughly $65,000 per year on herbicide application and hydro raking activities, spending over $1 million on these activities since 2004. Most of these funds were raised through donations solicited by WLA volunteers. Through his leadership, the WLA has successfully completed numerous important projects, including restorations at Sucker Brook, Suzanne Point, and Pout Pond opening, along with hydro raking of the Mark Ave Channel to Maple Cove and the Clipper herbicide study. As president of the WLA, Mr. Piatta has also been an outstanding community activist, building partnerships with the Reconciliation House and several Town of Webster departments and boards. Not only has he spearheaded the movement to educate the public about the need for environmental preservation, but Mr. Piatta has also given back to the town by serving on several town boards, including as chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Webster Board of Selectmen proudly recognizes Jason Piatta upon stepping down from president of the Webster Lake Association. The Webster Board of Selectmen thanks you wholeheartedly for your hard work and your dedication, and are indebted to you for your service and the sacrifices you've had to make for the town of Webster and Webster Lake in making it what it is today. We thank you for your outstanding service and your commitment to the town of Webster, the Webster Lake Association, and Lake Chagagagog, Manchagagog, Chabanagangmog. Presented with pride the 9th day of August in the year 2021. Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jane.
Jason.
Thanks, Anthony. And thank you, Gloria. Okay, our next item is a request to appoint Judith and Keegan to the Historical Commission. Judy, can you hear us? Can you hear me? Yes, it's victory. So, hey, good evening. Thank you for stepping up and volunteering to be on the Historical Commission. Doug, do you want to touch base a little bit? I believe we have all the information in our package.
We do, and I do not know Judith, but people on the Historical Commission do, and they strongly recommended that she join the commission, and I am very much at peace with that. So we're excited to have you join with us, and assuming the board votes that way, we'll get you sworn in and to work.
Great. Judy, any thoughts from yourself? You don't have to give a speech at all.
I want to apologize for not being there. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we hear you.
Can you hear me? I apologize for not being there in person, but I was led to believe that it was only Zoom and not anything else. So I apologize for not seeing you face to face.
That's quite okay. We'll blame Doug, and because Courtney's not taking care of this.
Most people prefer to not have to meet Randy face to face.
All right, well, thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to being on the commission, and I'm very interested in historic preservation anywhere for anything. And I think it's a very good and interesting commission on which to serve.
Great. Like I said, thank you, Judy. Thanks for stepping up. Any questions from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to appoint Judith Ann Keegan to the Historical Commission.
Second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
Yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
And Chairman Becker.
Yes. Judy, thank you. That wasn't too bad. Oh, she went on mute. All right. Appreciate it, Judy. Is there a swearing in at some point?
Yeah, Judy, we'll reach out to you and tell you how to come get sworn in at the clerk's office, and we'll put the chairman in touch with you so you know when their next meeting is.
All right, great. Yep, she's on mute, so. All right, Judy, thank you. We're going to move on to our next item, request to appoint Rihanna Kudzel to the Historical Commission, who will hopefully be working with Judy and the rest of the
Yeah,
commission.
so Rihanna contacted me. She's traveling today, so she wasn't able to join via Zoom. But similar situation, I reached out to members of the Historical Commission that know her. The chairman has recommended her appointment, and I recommend to the selectmen that you appoint her.
Okay, thank you, Doug. We have her information on page 10 and 11 of our package here. Any questions?
And I can vote for Rihanna as well. Highly recommend Rihanna to this appointment.
Great. Well, she provided us her GPA, so I'm really impressed for her college classes, and she seems to have really, I think, made her parents proud, so.
I'll make a motion to appoint Rihanna Kudzel to the Historic Commission.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Doug, would you pull the board, please?
Selectman Claybert?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Okay, next item on our agenda is the public hearing request to approve National Grid's request to install one SO pole on Pearl Ave, beginning at a point approximately 190 feet east of the center line of the intersection of North Main Street and continuing approximately 15 feet in a northern direction. Install a 40 C2 pole for a new three-phase service to 21 Pearl Street. So I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Hi, is this Kim?
Second.
This is Kim.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open the public hearing.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, so we're opening the public hearing now.
Okay.
Okay.
Kim, thank you. This is Randy Becker. So we're just going to inquire if there's anyone on Zoom who has any comments. And if none, if there's anyone here in the building, if they have any comments. Did we take the vote?
No, we just need to do the roll call for the
Or
opening
open the public hearing, yeah. Okay, Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
Yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. Thank you, Andrew. Any questions with regards to anyone from the audience or anyone on Zoom? Okay, any questions of the board? I personally didn't realize there was a Pearl Ave. I had to look. I always thought of Pearl Street. So, there being no questions, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to
Make a
close the
close
public.
the public hearing?
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
Yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. Now that we're out of the public hearing, I'd entertain a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion to approve National Grid's request to install one SO pole on Pearl Ave, beginning at a point approximately 190 feet east of the center line of the intersection of North Main Street and continuing approximately 15 feet in a northern direction, and to install a 40 C2 pole for a new three-phase service to 21 Pearl Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
Yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. And Kim, you're here for the second poll hearing as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So our next item is a public hearing request to approve National Grid's request to install two SO poles on Carden Drive, beginning at a point approximately 165 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Lower Gore Road and Carden Drive, and continuing approximately 300 feet in a west direction. Install two new 40-foot C2, P87-2 and P87-4 in order to remove two existing poles, P2 and P1, out of the right-of-way and replace the overload XFMR on P3. Believe it or not, we have to say all this just to get it in the record. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I make a motion that we open the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
Yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes, and now we are in the public hearing. Any questions on Zoom? Anyone? Anyone in the audience have questions? Any Board of Selectmen members have any questions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
Yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. All right, we have now closed the public hearing, and I entertain a motion from the board on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve National Grid's request to install two SO poles on Carden Drive, beginning at a point approximately 165 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Lower Gore Road and Carden Drive, and continuing approximately 300 feet in a west direction, to install two new 40-foot C2 P87-2 and P87-4 in order to remove two existing poles, P2 and P1, out of the right-of-way and replace the overload XFMR on pole 3.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Doug, would you pull the board, please?
Selectman Clayburt?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Kim, thank you very much. Any questions from us?
No, I'm all set. Thank you very much.
All right, great. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, Doug. Next item on our agenda is selection of 2 town administrator screening committee candidates. I would say we've been absolutely blessed with the response from the department heads, and Kenny, no matter what happens here, we love you. So we had, I believe, 7 or 8 department heads request to be on the committee, and 8 or 7 non-department heads. We've got a great group of folks to select from. Just a reminder for the public that the selectmen have 2 individuals as far as appointing to the screening committee. And Doug has provided us a package, or Doug or Courtney has provided us a package that I'm sure we've all looked through, 25 pages of it, with letters and even CVs and resumes. I will, for the record, note that I will have to recuse from Elaine Davies if there's any discussion there, as I am her brother-in-law. So I will open it up to thoughts. I know, Doug, you had sent some thoughts on this, so why don't we start with you, and then we'll kind of open it up.
Yeah, so I made a recommendation for the department heads, and no offense to the department heads in the room, Kenny and Carol. So I recommended Greg Linsky. One, I think all the department heads would be able to do a great job, and they're all professional and would do well. My reasoning for selecting Greg is that he's not a direct report to the town administrator, so he reports to the Southwest Communications Center Board of Directors, and which the town administrator is one of. But it's one step removed, so I think that there's a little bit of a less of a maybe conflict of interest that some people might see in that. I personally don't see it as a problem, but at least if we chose Greg, there would be no problem whatsoever.
Thank you, Doug. What I would suggest is maybe we just talk through the names and then, kind of see where the board is going, and then we can make motions after that. And that'll, I think, allow for a little bit more open discussion rather than having someone's name put out right away. So I'm just going to open it up. I wish we could choose all of them, I'll say that, because we have an incredible group. Just looking at the letters and the resumes and CVs from our department heads and from citizens. So,
Whatever you do, don't pick Carol, though.
Who would like to go first? Maybe we can just talk about, candidates you think should be our selection. You want to go from the top? We can do that. Whatever we want.
Or talk about the
Do we
ones that we recommend.
Department heads first, do we want to focus there, or?
If it'll probably make it easier, because I think we did talk about appointing one department head rather than having,
I think that's a good idea,
Okay.
to
so we'll open it up to that. We've heard Doug's suggestion.
I like the fact of being a resident in town. I think it adds another dynamic to the department head position, but most of these people that are residents have been residents in town for a while, and I think it just adds to the group of the screening committee that will be interviewing candidates.
I will second that. I was most concerned about having a candidate that was from the town of Webster, because it does provide a different dynamic in addition to the job itself, but whatever decisions they make impact themselves.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. When I was looking through the packet and looking at the names, what I did in terms of my own evaluation process was particularly with the department heads, I started with the same thought process and looking at who are residents was sort of a key point. Then who did I know to what extent, as I looked at it. And part of what played a role in it in my mind as I looked at it is what extent of sort of expression of interest did they put in their communication. So I kind of use those as some of the guiding principles. I have to say, though, I'm pleased with this level of interest. I think this is an excellent turnout, so I mean, we can't go wrong here, right? This level of engagement, I think, is important, so.
I was really impressed by the level of the number of people that requested to be on the search committee.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed by the number that we got and the quality of the people that we've gotten.
Yeah, and for the public, there were 7 department heads who asked to be considered to go on the screening committee.
Yeah, there were others interested, and I somewhat talked them out of it. It's like, oh, we already got enough, so.
Andrew, any on the department heads?
Yeah, when I was looking at the department heads, I kind of took the similar approach to Lisa. I first looked at whether they were resident, non-resident. Then I looked at whether they were direct report, non-direct report, and what their reasoning for joining was, or requesting to join the search committee.
And I think I looked in a similar fashion, and I think what weighs heavily for me is actually not having a direct report of the town administrator be on the committee, although I'd be very happy with any of them on here. You know, I just think that we only have one person who's a non-direct report. I just think that it could be a little bit touchy, let's say, going into the interviews knowing that the person is interviewing their boss-to-be. And I'm not sure what would happen, you know, in the future. Probably be perfectly fine. But then, you know, I think unfortunately we select one and then we have 6 that we didn't. So, you know, there is, you know, that negative aspect of it. But I think everyone pretty much understands that I at least trust the judgment of all 7 of these people here. And 4 of which are residents of the town, So I would actually go along with what Doug is suggesting with Mr. Linsky.
I agree with that fully, too. I think as 1/9 of the screening committee, I think Greg would be a good addition to have in that group.
Any other thoughts?
It would be difficult to choose one of the direct reports.
I would agree that that thought process makes it a little easier from that standpoint. You know, I still am a little torn on that because most of the department heads by default are direct reports. So I can lean either way on that debate. And it's hard to pick. Some of it is based on my own personal interactions with people, not having had as much exposure to some of the other ones. But I can certainly say with knowing Greg as well, as Greg is, you know, always been thorough, fully committed to the things that he's belongs to for organizations. But I think we have some other candidates who have either served on past committees that would be just as good as well.
I would agree with you.
So.
You know, I think that's the case with our town accountant Tim Bell and Chief Shaw. I think several of them, and have actually served on selection committees in the past too. So,
Well, the decision was very difficult if you're trying to choose one of them.
well, folks, that's why they pay you the big bucks. You have to make a decision. So I'll entertain.
I'll make a motion to appoint Greg Linsky as the department head, per se, representative, a selection by the board.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further nominations? If not, I almost said, Courtney, would you pull the board? Doug, would you pull the board?
I answer to both, but yeah. Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gamor.
Yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. That takes care of the department head. Kenny, we still love you. So we have then 2, 4, 6, 8 other individuals who have expressed an interest. You've, again, got their letters and/or CVs and resumes. And I will, again, for the record, recuse of any discussion on Elaine Davies. So I'm going to open it up.
Just a quick question. This is the same pool that will be used for the town moderator as well?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, and he has not made his,
He has not, so he will make it
After-
hopefully, yeah, after today, hopefully within the week.
And I'm sorry, Lisa, I
Isn't
should
he usually the last one, and the finance committee's not meeting till Thursday of this week?
Right, so,
Yeah, and I should have mentioned that earlier, thank you. I did let him know that we had this group. I'm pretty sure we sent these to him, or it's at least on the package.
yeah.
The names are on the agenda, so he had indicated he would make it sometime, probably this week, his 3 selections.
I do not have a recommendation for the residents. I know some of them, but not all of them.
so I'm interested a bit to hear from the board if anyone knows someone personally. I don't have deep connections with all of these candidates and certainly have to rely on the letters that were submitted, so I'm certainly interested in if someone has any insight. I would really appreciate some input or some feedback on that.
I know for myself, I know personally 4 of the individuals who are the residents from various activities within the town. The town.
So Andrew, you'll only have 3 people upset with you then?
I'm familiar with 3 of them. One person that I did eliminate was Reverend Janice Ford, only because she's not a resident of the town.
And I'm not sure, I believe she's the only individual on this list of non-department heads who is not a resident. I do know a number of the people as well. I looked back to see who had served on previous search committees, and Mark Rogers came to mind.
Yep.
Because he served, I thought, Earl, if he did a nice job, you could talk about that, or if he did a bad job, you could
No,
talk about that.
he did a good job.
But
He was-
I think
yeah.
having some experience may help, although, all the other folks here seem to be very, very qualified. It is a long process, having been on it before, Earl having been on one before as well. This is,
And Mark seemed to have some professional experience
Right.
in this specific area that he's done personally and consulted on. I did pick up on that in the review.
When I went through the different candidates, I looked at, first of all, to see if they're on screening committees. I noticed that Mark was, and Leslie Baker was also on several search committees in the past. I also looked at the volunteerism, the amount of time that they spent helping the town in different capacities. And I noticed Leslie Baker had a lot of volunteerism. Helen Kesner, Elaine Davies. But I think Leslie and Mark were the only ones that served on screening committees, if I'm not mistaken.
and we will have, whoever is not selected, of course, the other 6 will have a shot with Ted Avalos when he makes his selection as well.
I knew Helen Kestner as well. She's, before COVID, was a frequent attendee of selectmen's meetings, finance committee meetings, town meetings, is on different committees, made an effort for senior citizens to get a program together for a senior tax write-off, work-off program. So I know she's been heavily involved in the town. As far as experience, I can't speak to that, but I think she has good judgment. I've sensed that from my interactions with her. And I was also, Elaine Davies has a strong resume too and background, and has a lot of the qualities that Mark has brought forth as well. And Candace Shivers, I don't know her, but I was a bit impressed by the work that she has evidenced by her resume.
Candace has been on the Personnel Advisory Board for, I don't know, 7, 8 months. Maybe even longer. Time goes fast.
You know, so when I hear some of this feedback, what I'm weighing in my mind is past experience in these types of committees more valuable than giving someone a chance to get involved and participate, right? You know, Earl, having been on that before, does it take time for people to get ramped up? I mean, in your opinion, how valuable is that past experience?
I think certainly one member at least should, it's good to have that past experience. You kind of can avoid a lot of the slow aspects.
The pitfalls.
And, yeah, and can move it along. I don't see any advantage to having 2 or 3 people with these strong backgrounds to participate, because that's when I come in, the diversity aspect, the community aspect comes into play. So I think, you know, I'd like to see, and the town moderator hopefully will put together the final pieces to the puzzle. So I feel confident that in the end, we'll have a good screening committee.
One thing I was interested in Leslie Baker's background, and I do know Leslie Baker, was her experience helping the underserved population of Webster. And I think that's important to look at, especially in the future.
I would agree. I would also say that we would want to make sure we pick someone who will be cognizant of the concerns that the selectmen have. This is a selectman's appointment, so, you know, I would think that no matter what, we'd want to, you know, maybe have a conversation as a board with our 2 picks to give them, and that'll probably occur at our next meeting on the 23rd. Yep. I'm going to leave it to the board to make a recommendation.
How are we going to proceed from here?
Well, I think someone should make a first motion, and then we can have other motions, too.
I'll make a motion that we approve Leslie Baker as one of the members of the steering committee.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second for Leslie Baker. Any further recommendations for the screening committee? I will make a motion to appoint Mark Rogers on the screening committee.
I'll second that for discussion purposes.
Any further people would like to suggest? Knowing full well we at least have Mr. Avalos as a backstop. All right, and
I'll
hearing
make
no
a motion to appoint Helen Kestner.
Okay.
Oh, geez, we're going to complicate it more.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second for Helen Kestner. So we have Leslie Baker, Mark Rogers, and Helen Kestner. Any more nominations for the screening committee pick?
I make a motion.
We will take these in order, in the order that they were received. So hearing no further nominations, I'll entertain discussion on first Leslie Baker, who was recommended first, or motion first. Any further discussion?
Well, I think she's spent a lot of time volunteering for the town of Webster. She was chair of the Webster Rec Committee for 8 years. She's been on multiple search committees. She was appointed to the school committee and also the Webster Master Plan Committee. And she's also been involved with organizations outside of Webster via the Webster Adult Basic Education Program. She was in active involvement with the underserved population of the town, which I think is important. She was involved with CMRP and the Mass Rehab Commission, and experience serving, as I said, the underserved population, which I think is important in the future.
Thank you, Tom. Any further discussion? So what we'll do is we'll take a vote to appoint Leslie Baker. A yes vote will appoint her. A no vote will then move to Mark Rogers and so on down to Helen Kestner. So any further discussion? Doug, would you poll the board? Leslie Baker.
Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
No.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. So we can formally take, well, I don't think we have to at this point, because we've already made the appointment, so. So the appointment is Leslie Baker. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everyone else, and all the other remaining 6 folks, we'll let Mr. Avalos know, and he'll be able to pick 3 of those 6, assuming he doesn't pick another department head. But that's up to, it's up to the town moderator.
Yeah.
Because that is, we're giving him this entire list, so. Yep. Okay. All right, any further discussion on this? Again, thank Kenny, you're here. Carol, you're here. Carol's disappeared.
Yeah, she said she was really angry she wasn't selected.
And all the department heads and all the citizens that, and non-citizens that offered. I don't think we've ever had this kind of unprecedented turnout, so I really appreciate everyone.
I was
stepping up.
really impressed.
Okay, speaking of Kenny, come on up, Kenny. Next item is Kenny Pizzetti, Highway Superintendent, Road Paving Update Discussion.
Good evening, everyone. So we wanted to give you guys an update. It's been a while.
Kenny, just so we all know here, this is on page 43
Yep, in your
of our
packet, if you got,
I know we've got a few packets tonight, but this is
yeah,
page
there's a
4,
couple of them together there where we gave the actual management study, an update to everybody, and then we also just added in this season where we're going as far as road work on our end, with our contractor also involved. So just as far as our pavement plan, in that update, we have that done every 2 years, which is part of a 20-year layout plan, which many cities and towns have. And it goes off the study of everything from the top of the road to the bottom of the road to traffic to everything, if you had a quick chance to read it.
The print was small, but.
Yeah, what's interesting about these companies, though, is they're great if you sit in this position, which many cities and towns do, because if you read the bottom line, they would love for us to have about $11 million a year. And it's just a pattern they do for every city and town in the Commonwealth.
To that point, so it does recommend that we spend roughly $1 million, twice as much as we
Right.
do every year.
Right.
And they say if we only spend what we do spend, that all our roads will fall apart. So it's a testament to Kenny and his hard work that they have not fallen apart in the last however long Kenny's been doing it.
Well, I thank you. It's a team effort, including you guys up here through all of these years, too. You know, we've had many good boards, but in that study, though, you know, we're averaging in that 67 to 71% range as far as pavement conditioning. You know, it's almost like a C plus, sometimes a C minus, and that is actually very well, considering the amount of traffic that is picked up for us guys here in Webster over the last 5 years is kind of almost doubled on some of the main streets in certain peak hours, which we can see, you know. Even with the bridge closure recently, the traffic is still, I don't know, it's been a tough year for the whole world, but yet this area seems to have a lot more traffic going through its main arteries, so.
It, also to that point, so this past, when they did the study in 2020, like every road had just been dug up by National Grid, so
Yeah.
it did not include, so yeah, they go out there and look at it, it's like, yeah, this road's awful. But as you know, Kenny has just repaved a lot of those.
I mean, to that, what Doug's saying, in that year they did that, we did have National Grid in certain areas. National Grid is spending a lot of time in certain mill towns that had this gas structure. All those pipes are steel, they're all leaking, and you can see the result of them in many other towns. We did give them the ability to go through the winter. I'm happy with Doug, him and I, it was a good decision because they do have the capability of patching. It's not perfect, but they're ahead of the game. I know it seemed like a long time, but rules have changed for them. They can do certain things in the winter. They can't, they have to wait for certain things till the temperature is 45 degrees now, after what happened in Lawrence several years ago. So it's really unique for them, but we have that being an old mill town, so. But in that year, in that formula, we had that grid section done, and of course, that has to be recorded. So that is where we kind of dropped a couple points. They know that, but that's part of the, when they assess it, so where it is. So what I'm thinking is, once we get to March of 2022, that grid section gets relooked at automatically, we'll move to another one. I really believe we're gonna move up again in that pavement index, so I'm very comfortable with that. I expected that to happen in that review, you know. But in general, I was still very much happy with it, because they know we're moving along with our standard plan in place. You know, our goal is to stay in that 2-mile range per year with ourself and our local contractor to be doing that. In that study, it tells us and suggests us areas where to go. Your heavily traveled roads are always the first consideration. We follow the program, but we also go back to the outskirts of the program, which means I look at these side roads that they gave maybe some low numbers to, and we try to do that. We've been doing that for several years, taking blocks of areas and covering sometimes 2-3 roads in that section of maybe that section of town. And we continue to move that progress around everywhere. Besides the natural maintenance program, which follows with crack sealing on some of these other roads that are still have a high rating, just need a little more preservation done to them, so.
Sorry to keep interrupting
No,
you, Kenny.
please,
but
jump right in.
So, yeah, like Kenny said, they do in-house some of these smaller side roads. That is not a normal thing for towns to do. So, I mean, that's because Kenny works hard and is able to make it happen. Because other places that wouldn't happen, they'd have to hire a contractor to do it, and it's a lot more expensive.
Is Kenny Point Breeze is an example of that, Point Breeze Road?
Yeah, you can see some crack sealing, you can see some patchwork. I think as you see it in there, that'll be another section of that'll be done. It's not the whole thing, but it's pieces of it that'll go in there, because it's still decent enough under the guideline what it has. We've seen some sections up by Lisa, we did one side several years ago, then we jumped over towards the other side. That, if you've seen in that list, continues with another one. And then we're on this side of town. On this side of town, how do I say it? It's not really asphalt. It was done in the late 30s, 40s. It's a mix-and-place type of material. They've been chip sealed, the old-fashioned chip seal. If everybody ever seen that, the stone and the oil on the road. Trust me, no one likes that with a nice car. And I don't blame them. You don't see it too much anymore. For some of that simple reason. Does it work? Yeah. But is it favorable anymore under these new kind of guidelines? No. It's sometimes cheaper to just go with a shim coat and overlay. It's a little tough for us in Webster. We have something else that's a little it's not really normal compared to some other towns. Our road widths, they're not 26 feet. I don't know, it was before me, and probably before I was born. They decided to make roads 33, 34 feet wide. You don't see that in other towns. They're 26, maybe 27 feet. That footage, you know, adds to the cost. And you can't just do 26 feet, where I talked to some of my colleagues in other towns that maybe had some of these and tried that. Didn't work out well. You know, the phone was good for about 6 months, and then after that, the other part starts falling apart, the calls start coming. It's not worth it.
So they would leave 2 feet on each side?
They
on
would leave
paved.
15 feet, you know, out of a 40-foot row.
Oh, 40.
Say that, you know what I mean? And they would just do that. And they would try to maybe have it crack sealed or something like that, but it's, I'm glad they tried it, not me. That's all. you know?
Kenny, on the page that talked about the $11.5 million of current backlog, what would you estimate with the work that's been done today, Main Street, stuff that's been done after the survey?
Yeah.
Main Street, well, soon to be, but not Lake Street yet, but Lake Parkway, would that number come down to 10 million? What number would that come
Yeah,
down
I mean, when you've got a full-depth project like Lake Parkway, some of that would drop off. Granite Street is going to be similar. All of that water service area, Whitcomb, Lincoln, Nelson, same thing. That will knock that backlog estimate down, you know?
So
But I
that's why
mean-
you expect us to improve?
Yeah, yeah, and
the
I
next
just
survey.
think our standard maintenance on all of the roads, and you can see the areas that we're doing this year, that same format goes every year. I really believe we'll creep right back up there in that. I mean, we don't have the ability, some other local towns, I'll use Oxford, Douglas, I'll use those guys, colleagues there that I know. Besides their Chapter 90, when their budget is done every year, they get an allotment of like $300,000 extra. So that's every year. It's just part of that. Doug, how would I say that? The budget?
Yeah,
It's
they
kinda
put in
something-
the general fund budget, which you're not supposed to know that.
But I'm just, and I understand we don't have that.
Right.
So I understood that, you know what I mean, many, many years ago. So we follow Mass Highways guidelines. We do preserve how they tell us to preserve the money now. And I believe we've really been working well with this, and I actually think we're gaining ground, you know? So as you see on the plan there, you can see where we're going this year with some of them. There's a couple main roads in there from the actual contractor himself.
So just so we follow, this is on page 47, I think, Kenny. So this is labeled tack coat.
Yeah, it would look like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, Kenny.
Yes.
What's the difference between the tack coat and then the bit overlay?
So the tack coat it's an emulsion type of product that goes on. Once these roads, our job is to prep these roads no matter what before these companies come in. So when they tell me that, I get out there a day ahead of time, and we have to prep that road. That's from sweeping, cutting what we gotta cut around curbs, putting risers in, making key cuts so this emulsion and asphalt can work. But the tack coat is part of that project
Okay.
that goes before they're paving.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the bituminous
Correct.
goes
It
over
starts
that work.
to create heat.
Okay.
For when the asphalt hits it, it works both ways, with it and below it, and it creates a sealer.
So on this schedule, that's why the names of the streets are all the same.
Yes.
Okay.
It's all- Right.
Tack coat.
It's
And-
following,
Okay, I
that
see. They
old
broke
group
it
is
up
one
into
thing, one
sections.
train following itself.
Okay.
And then the next page,
The other one is a project that we have in place. These are our roads that we're attempting to get now, and I don't mean attempting, our goal is to get that. For this season, this is a little unusual. I mean, things are unusual right now, but this was a little unusual. There's a tremendous amount of time, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that 3 weeks of July lost due to weather means a lot. My fingers are crossed. I can tell you, as far as our end, we have 2 of those done now. The contractor himself has this one done. We have the 2 on Wakefield, so he doesn't have many left. I think there's 2 more in there without me flipping the page there, but of course, everybody, they got a schedule with several other towns, but I know I'm in constant contact with him in regards to that, so. But the standard procedure is what you see on that, as far as maintenance, from our paving upgrades to our standard practice of crack sealing, which is road preservation, and that's a big part of this conditioning for this pavement plan.
Ken, is there any, obviously, we had an issue with the bridge in Dudley,
Yes.
so we're comfortable, there's no bridge issues here
No,
in
no.
Webster?
The other ones are a little bit newer, not much. but the strength and that stability of them seem to be, as the report come through from Mass Highway, they do them every 6 months when they cover certain areas at a time. So there's no really disaster report like that.
Any that
out of
we'd have
those
to
other
worry
ones,
about.
Right.
Is there any, maybe this is for Doug, is there any other funding that is available? You know, for instance, can we use CDBG?
yeah.
Because there was a question a couple of years ago, Earl, you may have brought it up, which can we use some of that money for water or sewer? Is some of that money also available to use on roads?
Yeah, it can be, and then we are, so like Granite Street, that is being funded through CDBG, which will start this month, a
Right.
couple
Well,
weeks, yeah.
Right, yep, no, it's out to bid now, so.
But yeah, so if it's in the districts that are eligible, you can use it for roadway improvements.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I just want to ask, sidewalks, where is that falling into the scheme of things?
It's not really in this plan.
No, I
Really
understand.
doesn't
that, yeah.
fall into that. Occasionally, we get a call here and there, so our goal is to get out there, we look at them. If we have to make an adjustment, if it's 50 feet, it's 80 feet, it could be 10 feet if somebody had something. Our attempt is to, fix that situation. So there's no real set plan for just a separate sidewalk. There is a couple separate grants that Doug has done a great job and received in regards to that. I shouldn't say that directly from Mass Highway, but I will say their focus in today's time is the road. That is their main focus. They offer those. Doug, like I said, did a great job and received one, but if we do, Earl, get any of those type of complaints, we do get out there and we address what I can do, what I can fix.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we've been doing for the last several years, is we started really revamping, probably 8 years ago, easy, to really get things moving, This is a small unit of 9, but there's a ton of talent in the field. And I'm grateful for that group, because there isn't a lot of towns that do this, that do their own paving and that.
Yeah.
Everything is subbed out with a lot of them now. And I know from talking to some of my colleagues, the money they're spending and time they're losing for the contractor to do that, because they just maybe don't have it, meaning the talent to do it, or they don't have the equipment or not interested. I'm grateful I came up under that in this department, and I just knew that as we got advanced, that we had the ability to go further, and we have, so. But there's no real set sidewalk update in that plan. It's all road work.
Well, I came to realize that with the Whitcomb Street and that,
Yeah.
the water project that
Yeah.
is doing the curbs, but
Yeah.
not the actual sidewalk, so I
Yeah.
was just wondering, where
Yeah.
does that fall?
I mean, those rehab type of projects though, Earl, that's standard procedure. If you're ripping up the road, they're going full depth. Anytime you're going under the road, anything like that.
Oh, yeah,
You
no,
know what
the
I mean?
road,
I mean,
yeah.
that falls under them.
Yeah,
But
That
the
project-
ADA, for
Right.
sidewalk access was not really something
Right.
that could get done at Whitcomb
Yeah.
easily, but I think it was eventually built in,
Yeah.
at least for Whitcomb. But it is done on things like Lake Parkway, where we're
Yes.
building the entire
Yeah.
road.
Yeah.
What was the cost of Lake Parkway?
Lake
approximately?
Parkway, I believe, was like 4.1 million.
Yeah, something insane.
$4.2 million dollars.
So that goes against the 11 and a half, or not?
Well, not, yeah, it'll knock it down some, but,
Right, so, but that was because it was,
Trying to do the math.
well, the other thing, so we did 1,000 feet of sidewalks on East Main,
Yes.
and that was like $350,000
Right.
budget. And that doesn't go very far, especially with sidewalks. It's
That was a
really
grant.
right.
Are the sidewalks included in that 11.5?
They're not.
No.
You can
Yeah,
triple that, and
I mean, I think that was only 100 feet. You
I know with the grant projects that Carol said, I mean, that's included roadways,
Yes.
sidewalks.
yeah, we're
and
doing
Yeah.
all the
whole
sidewalk.
shebang.
Yeah.
And
You know.
yeah, that's,
I mean, Lake Parkway, briefly, for a quick update, is done. It has a small punch list, which they're just getting ready to, hopefully, their plan is to finish it by the end of August. It's very small. There's a little bit of grass issues but timing for them when they had to put the loom down compared to when they seeded, but very small list for that job, you know. It came off very well. I think they did a great job. It's ahead of schedule. I know that makes them happy, you know, because
Looks great.
in and out, you know, does a good job, so.
And it's much safer for the school kids.
Yeah, oh no,
The
the sidewalks look, really looks good. There's a change over there. I mean, that's a lot of stuff Mass Highway is a big fan of, which was a big thing with this project, is the bike lane. They love that stuff. They really do love that stuff.
Like all the extra painting on the road, too?
Yeah, it eliminates,
It may cause more confusion.
it does in summer when you're coming to the lake, but it does, I mean, it takes away from the old thing where some of the neighbors were used to parking, but they didn't really have a curb or that. You know, now you have that, so you know, the road design like that is a no parking situation, you know, that kind of.
They did a really great job on that.
They did,
Incredible.
so.
They did.
Well, Kenny, don't fret too much with regards to that number. We understand all the work that was done, because
Oh,
we
yeah.
all traveled through it.
Yeah,
Any further questions? Because we have a pretty
one-
full agenda.
I have one
after
question.
this.
Going back to this backlog, I see in these charts, they're trending us against ourselves. Do they give you any insight into our backlog compared to similar towns with the same kind of mileage? Or do you get some sense of, is this pretty consistent with like communities? I mean, because this is a huge backlog, but
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how does that compare?
So Grafton has almost the exact same number of miles of road, and it's a very similar situation. It almost, like when I got here and read the first one, it's like, oh, it's exactly the same.
yeah.
Well, I think
Switch
that's
out the town
important,
name.
because I think if residents see this and they ask about it, I think it's important that they know that it's something that's fairly consistent from community to community, if that's
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah, and a pavement condition of 70 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like most are probably at 70, in the 60s somewhere.
Okay.
Some of the, I hate to ask some of my colleagues that, because I know we're sitting relatively decent. I didn't want them to look at me like, what does that mean?
So this isn't like bragging rights within your
Well,
circle?
no,
of-
you know, you're smiling, whether you're on the other end of the phone to that,
Andrew?
but in
I
general,
was
so.
going to say, when we're doing some of the repairs to the roads that do have sidewalks, does it make sense to also at the same time look at the sidewalk conditions and see what we can repair at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, if there's something that is in rough shape as we're going by one of those roads or whatever it may be, that I just jot on there, and then I put it on our side list to do, and we'll always have that side list right up to Halloween before those plants get ready to close.
Okay.
And I try to grab anything that comes up as we're on one of those roadways, so. So, just a brief update, I thank you. You know, if you have any other questions, I'll just give you one more, you know, update. It may be a headache, Doug, I didn't have a chance to see him today. We've been so busy with some other extras. We had a high school to do. We did something at the Armory paving, but I was thinking about it. So Mass Highway's not done with us. We will have that section of Route 16 is getting bumped up on their list from, I believe, 2024 to 2023. That's not far away,
You talking-
which is.
The modern-day
Route 16
roundabout?
Is that,
Oh, the
right.
loop, oh.
Right, so, I mean, to me, it's good news. They're pushing this, they're pushing this right along, and they really want to get in there and move that up, so,
Yeah, they recently finished a utility study on it.
yeah.
Did they, either Kenny or Doug, did they make any decisions on a double roundabout, either before and after, or just at exit 2 northbound, closer to
So,
Montfray?
The 25% design has the light on the western side and the roundabout on the Montfrey side.
But if you get off on exit 2, you're going to see a new type of traffic
We
light.
get off at exit 2 coming
Would
southbound
there
or
be a light
northbound?
there?
Yes.
Coming.
On the other side of the bridge?
On the
Right,
Price
come
Chopper
in-
side,
Come
it'll be
in,
the light.
right, yeah, it should say
So
west,
they're
right?
thinking of a light there where we,
Yeah, they definitely eliminated, they
The
had
double
2 of them
roundabout.
in there. They don't think they have the footprint big enough. So, but. the
yeah, I was
other
more
one-
concerned, the light to me would cause more of an issue backing up to the
Well,
roundabout.
that's what I'm wondering.
So hopefully they have much better,
Yeah,
Brain
their
power
thought
than we
was
do.
that having the light allows the roundabout to actually work, because then people can actually get off of when they're coming north and getting off on exit 2 from 395, it'll let them go through.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I would suggest that they come and drive that a while to see if that'll work, because I drive it every day. I have questions whether it will work. Thank you. Any further questions? And thank you for that update on the roundabout.
Yes.
We can't call it a
Thank you.
rotary, just for the record. Kenny, great job.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kenny.
All right, next item on the agenda is Florencia. Thank you for fixing the blinds for Lisa. Come on up, gentlemen.
Give you bonus points. So Jensen, I have your PowerPoint that you shared earlier. Do you want me to put it up for them? Or do you want to just talk?
Yeah, either way, I have it here as well.
Doug's getting double pay today for, being the secretary to the selectmen.
If you tell me when, I'll click to the next slide.
So we'll go ahead, gentlemen, let you introduce yourselves, so you can see our names here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jensen Mejia, and I'm co-founder of Florencia Cannabis Delivery Company. My name is David Yulian. I'm an attorney at Vicente Cedarburg here on behalf of Florencia.
Good to meet you. We'll see if Doug's mouse works.
There we go.
So just a quick table of contents. We'll discuss the mission statement for Florencia, the founders, business objective, just a quick background on the delivery license, a slide on order of delivery, safety measures, the location use details. There are also two more slides that I didn't make it into the table of content. So one will be the location, where it's actually located, and then lastly, just the HCA and a request for that. So Florencia's mission statement, Florencia was founded by Jensen and Jackson Mejia, that's my twin brother. We aspire to become the go-to cannabis delivery business for adult use customers seeking the highest quality medical-grade cannabis and cannabis-derived products in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So the founders, this is actually not the updated one, but that's okay. On here I have myself and my twin brother, who's actually a founder, but he's no longer affiliated, but he was a founder. I have Arduin on the slide up here, who's my younger brother. We are hoping to get him involved with the company as a security expert. So security is one of the main aspects of the business. He is a military guy. That's actually a picture of him, over 10 years of experience. So he just moved over to Connecticut. It's about an hour from here. So we're hoping to get this thing off the ground, and he'd be our first hire. So that's why I put him up there. But myself, I used to be in the financial service industry. I was a FINRA representative, like a stockbroker, supervised stockbrokers. I decided that wasn't for me. This kind of came around and it seemed very appealing, so I decided to kind of chase this, and I've been going at it for about 2 years now. So Florencia's business objectives, we are looking to obtain a delivery license to purchase products at wholesale and deliver cannabis products to eligible Massachusetts residents in accordance with all governing laws and regulations. We're also looking to obtain a courier license in order to offer home delivery services for retailers, such as the Vault, and we are currently in preliminary conversations with the Vault for that. Florencia, on the delivery operator side, will partner with product manufacturers, cultivators, and not retailers for one license. And ultimately, actually, this says we're going to partner with them, with businesses whose objectives align with ours. But there's two parts, again, to the business. There's a courier, and then there's a delivery operator. The courier works with retailers, such as the Vault. The operator delivery does not. So you just want to keep that in mind. Florencia will enjoy a 3-year exclusivity period on the delivery licenses as a social equity participant. I feel this is important to know because Webster is ahead of the curve when it comes to their zoning regulations. I casted a wide net. I looked everywhere. I'm kind of a zoning expert for marijuana now because of what I've done here. And there were only 2 towns that came up. It was Webster and another town. Won't mention them. But you guys were extremely receptive.
It's familiar to Doug.
Yeah, you guys were very receptive when maybe the other town wasn't. But what I think the relevance to that is that nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is moving with the cannabis delivery business. There are some companies out in Northampton, Western Mass, and in Boston. But around here, there isn't anybody. So there's an opportunity for us to get this thing going and then branch out to where the Bolt is, because again, we're talking to them, Worcester, Lakeview, and every other area. Florencia could then also go towards Boston in the delivery operator side. So again, terrific opportunity. Webster's first in line here, so something I think to take advantage of. And ultimately, I, as well as anybody else who comes along with Florencia, will work very hard to acquire industry knowledge in order to diversify Florencia's business offerings. Just a quick background on the delivery license. The operator delivery license was approved on November 30th, 2020. Again, this is a second license. There are two licenses. One is a courier and one's operator delivery. Couriers are currently operational, so there are two that are operational. One's in Northampton and one is in Boston. But there's nothing over here. They're not delivering over here, so it's a great opportunity for us. Delivery license holders will be able to deliver cannabis and cannabis products to homes for adult use. Regulations establish a 3-year exclusivity period for social equity and economic empowerment applicants. And applicants must meet all general operational requirements for marijuana establishments found in 935 CMR 500 of the adult use regulations. And again, the commission also has extremely stringent security requirements, which Florencia will adhere to all of those. Order and delivery, only eligible customers 21 years of age or older will be able to place an order via, it says telephone here, but I don't believe we'll be taking telephone orders. Most likely it's going to be all online. So again, they put in the orders online and we deliver. There's going to be no storefront for either courier or delivery operator. Orders will be prepared for delivery and logged for receipt to sale requirements. That will either be done at the vault or be done at our location, depending on which license it is that is handling the order. Deliveries will be handled by 2-member teams consisting of a driver and a delivery agent. Per regulations, we have to have 2 agents into each car, in each vehicle. The vehicles have to have cameras in the front and the back end. We have to have secure lock boxes on each side, body cameras on each of the agents. So the security requirements are sort of extensive, but that's really where the onus is from the commission. There's not a high, we don't have to put a lot of money into building out the facility, and we do have to secure it, but where the retailers are spending a lot of money on the upfront, on the store facing, we don't have to deal with that. We just have to worry about the vehicles and making sure everything's secure in that end. So again, once orders are delivered, order completion will be logged and recorded. All orders are attempted. Once all orders are attempted, driver and delivery agent will return any undelivered cannabis products back to the originating facility. If it's based on the operator delivery model, it'll go back to Florencia. If it's based on the courier model, it'll go back to, we expect to be the vault, based on our preliminary conversations. So safety measures, again, we don't have to have as extensive safety measures as a retailer, but we still have to have pretty robust safety requirements. We are hoping, again, to have Arvin be the lead on this. He does have private security experience. Incident reporting procedures will be in place and strictly enforced. The facility will be equipped with CCTV security cameras for 24-hour surveillance. All vehicles will be staffed by 2 Florencia agents who will be wearing body cameras during the entire duration of the delivery process. Vehicles will be equipped with GPS tracking systems. 2-way communication will always be maintained between the facility, the driver, and delivery agent. Dashboard cameras will be required in all delivery vehicles. A camera will also be used to record the locked compartment housing marijuana products. All vehicles will be equipped with 2 secure lock boxes, which will not be easily removable. One lockbox will store cash, it says. We do not anticipate to do any cash orders, but it's per regulation. But we will not do any cash orders. It's just, we don't need to do that. I think it will slow down the process, and it's just not necessary these days. The other will be used for marijuana products set for delivery. Vehicles will not have any external markings, words, or symbols that would indicate that it's being used for any marijuana or marijuana-related activities. Likewise, the facility itself will also have no kind of markings indicating what's going on in it. It's just going to be a nondescript building. It could even look like it's abandoned. I mean, it's just going to be darked out. No one's going to know really what's going on there. And only dispatchers, drivers, and management will be permitted to access the facility.
Just to note, we don't want it to look abandoned, but
Fair enough. But yeah, there would be no indication as to what's actually going on in there. Currently, we are in talks with the leasing agents for Unit 210 out of 70 Worcester Road. Depending how certain things shake out, that may change, but that is where we are going to be. The loading area has to be immediately adjacent to the warehouse, but we have, or the facility rather. We did take a look with Chief Shaw. He walked down there with me, and we looked at the area, and it looked, he was comfortable that it can be, we can operate out of there. The vault is right at the back there. They have their own loading area. So we figured that, he figured it can be done safely. So, you know, we're comfortable with that at least. License restricted to allow for delivery sales and no in-person retail sales, so no storefront. Vehicles will be housed, registered, and insured at Florencia's business location in Webster. Delivery orders will be received at, and vehicles will be dispatched from Florencia's business location. Webster location will serve as a central site for GPS monitoring of vehicles, transportation of cannabis product, as well as general facility surveillance, so it's all going to be in-house. Warehouse will have a burglar alarm system installed, which will be monitored by a third-party alarm company. And again, we're looking for a delivery operator and a delivery courier license out of these locations. So again, this is the last part. The 130 will be the U-Haul on that screen, with one being empty Shaw's. The vault is at 225, and we're looking to be in that area there next to the vault. So the last part.
That's what you depict as number 2. What's number 3 there?
That's what we are, sorry, so 2 is empty. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all empty spots.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry, what was number 2?
2 is empty. It should be, or it might be the Divine Nails, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But- So
number 2 would be.
the number ones are supposed to be empty, I may be
Yeah,
a little wrong.
225 is the old Olympia, right?
Yeah, so 225 is the vault.
Is the vault.
Number 2 would be,
storefront away from the vault.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's not very far, it's right there. And David, if you just want to take this last one.
Sure.
Yeah,
So,
'cause-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So we're here to seek a host community agreement. It's what is required in order for Florencia to submit a complete provisional license application to the commission. These agreements are required. You're probably already familiar with this. The vault went through this process previously, but every licensed marijuana business would have to have one. It sort of just sets forth the different types of responsibilities and conditions for siting at this location in this host community. The statute allows for there to be a community impact fee, but it is limited to be reasonably related to the costs imposed on the host community by our operations, and it's not intended to exceed 3% of the company's gross sales. And as well as the term of the agreement can't be longer than 5 years, but it can obviously be renewed at the end of the 5-year period. So this is a statutory requirement. We can't go forward without it. So that is sort of our ultimate objective before the board, is to ultimately enter into that host agreement with the board, with the town.
So what we can do from here is, well, I wanted you to come in and be able to introduce yourself to the board, but we can work up a draft host agreement and then come back before the board at a later time to get that approved.
Sure. And I'm happy to work with town council or whoever you'd prefer to finalize the host agreement.
Yeah, no, that's great. And the one thing that's great about the delivery business is, so they're going to deliver to locations all around the state, but all those sales, the sales tax from them goes to Webster because they're not, because we're the host of it. So, you know, like they said, they're going to have a location, there's no retail at it, there's going to be no traffic out of it, they're going to have some vans or trucks or whatever, but the impact to the town of Webster is very, very minimal, but we get all the tax revenue. And not that we're all about money, but sometimes I'm all about money.
The money helps.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, why don't we go through, see what kind of questions on the presentation and on what you verbally.
The security measures that you took, are those required by regulation, or are those some that you came up with to be more, secure
So-
facility.
Yeah, so everything I mentioned here is regulation requirements. They're extremely stringent, but anywhere where the commission requires certain things, we'll make sure to fulfill those requirements, and if we can go above and beyond anywhere, we certainly will, because, again, security is probably the paramount thing with this business. If we can keep it secure, we can probably keep it alive, so we're going to take that very seriously.
I have a question regarding your geographic service area for both courier and delivery. Do you anticipate, do you have?
Yeah, so based on our conversations with the Vault, because they're very interested in going forward with this as well, they see the value, the idea would be they hold all of Webster, so they'll do courier, we do all the deliveries, they keep the clients, they keep all that information, we're just delivering. And then a buffer around the town, so not a mile, but different cities around this town. Same thing would happen to Worcester, so they'll get complete access to the town that they're in, and then a buffer around it. And so on. So initially, it doesn't seem like such a great deal for Florentia, but it is because we're going to get to operate in Boston. That's what we were trying to do anyway. We're going to go with this high density over there. So while they have their, and I believe they have Lakeview as well, so they have 3 dispensaries already. So the idea is to really bring more business to them. It brings more business to the town, because even if we're doing orders for, fulfilling orders for the Worcester location, the revenue comes here when we do it for our operation. But the idea with them is that we can now mix the marketing. So it's going to be their same menu, it's going to be their same product that we're going to be using on our other license. People are immediately going to get drawn to the Vault. The Vault's the one that holds all that, they hold that menu. They just mentioned today, actually, that they're working a big marketing push, and a lot of things are going on with them, and they would certainly extend those things to us.
Do you foresee that one truck would make multiple courier deliveries? How, I'm trying to ascertain how much would be on board.
Well, it all depends, right? So it depends how much money we can raise here, because if we can have certain vehicles specifically, my expectation is the Vault's going to want to have specific vehicles just for their deliveries, which will probably be going all day. But for Florentia's other license, the idea is we can do up to $10,000 per day. If we market this properly, we can fill that vehicle up in the morning, get it out of town, and come back at the end of the day. So we're hoping, the idea with the operator deliveries, to get as much of that business as possible towards the Boston area, and then whatever the Vault can do with the courier license, that's going to be over here.
I see.
And just to add to that, the regulations restrict the amount of product that can be in the vehicle at any one time, so no more than $10,000 worth of product in any vehicle. So you can coordinate multiple deliveries through the same vehicle, but it will never be, over $10,000 worth of product.
Okay, thank you.
So it almost has an armored car feel to it, in the sense you've got to have 2 people, obviously good security. Are you talking vans for delivery? What?
So
Not a Brinks armored truck, I'm sure.
Right, yeah, no, it depends on where it's going to go. So the idea with the delivery operator is going to be, we're going to need more robust vehicles, bigger vehicles, there's going to be more product. But things that are going to be within the neighborhood, quicker deliveries, we probably won't need such a big vehicle for that. So it's going to be what business needs, what we need for the business, but ultimately, yeah, everything's on the table. We're looking at CRVs, they're little small vans, but again, those will be Boston. We can use smaller vehicles for these areas.
So you'd be able to do a larger shipment and then break that shipment out to the smaller vehicles in, because I'm thinking, 2 people driving to Boston with $10,000 worth of product is not going to be very efficient, because you'd have to have 30 vehicles to hit some of your numbers.
So initially, the idea was to have another location in Boston to do just that. So we were able to do a warehouse out of here and then move product into Boston. I see what you're saying. I would have to talk to a law firm, make sure it's legal, but if it is, we certainly would entertain the idea.
So just a few more questions. The use of credit cards, debit cards, because you say this is no cash, has now gotten easier?
Yeah, they allow it. There's a lot of different operators out there. You just have to pay certain fees. They have little different ways they get around it. But I just saw a bulletin from the commission itself that said, because credit cards I never knew were okay. It usually have to be debit with cash. But I have something from the commission that said credit cards, which I don't, it must have been a mistake. So I've never seen anything official about that. But yeah, debit cards are okay. Usually there's some kind of complicated mechanism where it runs through as a debit, and they have to do a certain app, but they do debit cards.
And some banks may not allow it, but one of the other questions I think you answered was, will it, I hate to use the word cannibalize retail sales, because the town does make money through the vault, and so you're not expecting, if you have an agreement with the vault, you're not expecting them to cannibalize, let's say, the retail sales.
Yes, so that's ultimately the plan here, to not go anywhere near their business. They have also mentioned potentially investing in Florencia, so we would be helping each other out. Ultimately, yeah, we don't want to cannibalize anything that's already here. Considering the revenue comes back into the town, the idea is to generate more revenue for the town. So that's why we're kind of figuring out a plan where Florencia can be successful on both licenses, and the vault can still, expand their business and keep what they have. So that is the idea.
And there's nothing in the vault's agreement with the town that, this would be a key thing to look at.
Yeah.
Make sure we're not violating any covenants of our agreement.
No, the only thing.
Should the vault not get a deal with?
Yeah. So when the vault reached out to me, and they are, they're happy to work with Florencia. They want this relationship to work. They do have some sort of clause in their lease, so that was the only thing. But I think Florencia and the vault are working with the landlord to
same
iron
leasing
all that
agent.
out.
So.
So yeah, there was a clause in there that said the vault had first. The vault has to approve any tenant that cannabis, which we're talking with them. So hopefully we can get that deal squared away. And at that point, the only thing we need would be the HCA. We have everything ready to go for those applications.
And are there deadlines that you're dealing with? You said you have kind of a 3-year exclusivity, which has been carved out. I don't know if it was legislatively or through the CCC. So
Through the CCC,
is that clock ticking now?
It's not. It hasn't started clicking
Or when
yet.
you start up?
So the exclusivity period starts from the first time that a delivery operator begins operations, which has not happened yet. There are some who have provisional licenses, but they have not started commencing operations. So the 3-year exclusivity hasn't even started yet. But once it does, when the first delivery operator commences operations, it'll be 36 months after that, and that period of time could be extended if the commission determines that it's needed to extend it.
And what is the 3-year exclusivity location? In other words, could somebody open up a similar operation? If it was your twin brother and he decided to open up in Dudley, can he do that? Or is he excluded?
What I'm finding personally is
Not that your brother would do that.
Right. No, he could. The exclusivity is only for people that live in areas that are, what was this?
Yeah, so the only applicants who are eligible for this license type are social equity applicants and economic empowerment applicants. They have to be certified by the commission. So you have to apply for that, and you can only apply and be accepted if you're eligible for it. So we're talking about a very sort of limited type of applicant who can do it. So I guess if your twin brother did want to set up a competing business, he would have to apply for it. But if he met the criteria, the commission would certify him.
He could open in Webster, or was there?
So Webster's pretty locked down. So
Finish that.
So I think that the big thing here, and I was mentioning earlier, is that nobody's owned properly. So some people are finding success in Western Mass, some people are finding success in like Boston, but around here, I didn't find anything. So let's say a town decides they want to go at this, now they have to get their zoning changed.
Right.
So that, however long that takes, and then these meetings and so on. So you guys are ahead of the ball. Nobody else is doing that around here.
Well, we'll thank Doug for that. I had no other questions. Anyone else?
No.
Just as a reminder, so we have approved a 1 delivery type and then 2 retail in town.
Right. So we have the authority to execute a contract
could-
for that.
We could do the HCA as soon as we can work out the details.
Okay. Great presentation. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming you'll be working with Doug. I was happy to hear you spoke with the chief, because that was one of my questions. And you'll be working with Doug on how to present something formal.
Yep,
to
and
us.
we met with all staff, the community development staff, was that June? That was a while ago, but yeah.
Probably last month, yeah.
And we've met with the planning board as well, so we're starting that process sort of in
You'll need
parallel. But we know that there are a number of different municipal boards that we'll have to go through, so this is certainly the one that we'll need to get the HCA to start the rest of the process.
Any other questions?
No.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Roddy.
Good luck.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is a request to approve the wine and malt new liquor license application filed by Little Greek LLC, DBA Golden Greek, 156 Lake Street, Webster, and I saw that Chris was on the line. Okay. Chris, can you hear us okay? Okay, we can't hear you if you're talking at all. Chris, can you hear us okay? Technology. Yeah, I can see the green is lit up like you're trying to talk, Chris, but we can't hear you.
Is it like a *6 or anything he's got to do if he's on his phone? Sometimes you have to do the keypad.
I'll unplug this thing and maybe it'll just work on the sound on the computer.
Okay. Chris, one time,
Try again.
I think it's on, if he's on his phone, it could be the device.
Microphone.
yeah, he's not showing as muted. Do you have his phone number?
Oh, I heard something.
Okay,
Can you say it? Talk again?
you might want to plug that back in, or...
Yeah, let me plug this back in. Chris, can you speak again?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
There we go. Okay, Chris, this is Randy Becker, Chairman of the Board. So we have you here. We've got the information that you submitted, I'm assuming through Courtney. Doug, do you want to just lead off on this?
Yeah, so this is a beer and wine license that they've requested. There was one at this location previously. We have one available. All the paperwork is in order, so we recommend that the board approve this to go forward.
I know we've got a package of information here. Courtney has presented that. We have everything we need.
Yes.
I think the good news here is that they did have a beer and wine malt liquor license in the past.
Yep.
And I was surprised, I guess, and happy to hear that we have one available.
We had to do some work, but yes.
Okay. Well, do we? I mean...
Yeah, we do, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You were hedging there a little on me.
Yeah,
Have one
it's all
available?
good.
Okay.
There is definitely one available.
Okay.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Yeah, because that was going to be my question, was if we had a wine and malt beverage, because I know the last one we had was Capellini's was using one, but I think they just surrendered that one
They
since
did.
they have the full alcohol
Yes.
through the state
Okay.
that they were going to be applying for. Okay.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from the board? So Chris, I think everything's in order, so I'm going to ask for a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the wine and malt liquor license application for Little Greek LLC, DBA Golden Greek, located at 156 Lake Street, Webster.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
Yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. Chris, hopefully you heard all that. It was hopefully pretty straightforward, and you are approved. Your wine and malt license has been approved. So I think if you can contact Doug, or Doug will contact you or Courtney, and we'll get that squared away. Any questions from you?
No, sir. Thank you so much for your time, Board. I appreciate everyone's help.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, next item on the agenda is request to increase the number of vehicles allowed for sale at Belcitos Classic Cars, 96 Lake Street, Webster. This is in our package on page 87.
Hi.
Thank you for your patience.
No, no problem. It was interesting. Yeah.
We've heard many things, never that one.
Never that one. No, that's good.
Are you Ray?
I'm Ray. I'm sorry. I'm Ray Belcito. Some of you might know my father. He's been in business here since 1969. So My request is to increase the license. I appreciate the fact that you approved the first license, but it came with restrictions. And so I wanted to kind of give you a minute I wanted to spend a minute to kind of go over what my intentions are for the building and what the future is for the place. So over the last 2 years, I've spent a lot of money on the building. Unfortunately, I'm not a builder, and this isn't something that I do for a living, but I think I prioritized it right. I put a roof in, I took care of the ceiling that was falling down, and I did a complete electrical system with new service from National Grid and everything. So the next phase, at this point, we just finished the electrical, it took over a year to do, about a month ago. So in any event, the next phase of the process, I want to do the facade. And so my goal is to make it look the way it was, I think since 1939, when it became an auto dealership versus the trolley car barn. So I'm going to take the Webster garage sign down, I'm going to brick face the building, I want to put new windows in, new doors, I want to make it look really nice and restore it as close as I can to what it was. And then we're going to pave the driveway, and and when you drive by, you can't tell that I want to make it look good. And so part of, when I read the license that I got, I noticed the restrictions, and I can see the point where you don't want like 100 cars outside and me making it a junkyard. That's just not what I'm doing with it. I'm making it a nice, presentable place. I'm going to continue my father's legacy, continue on with the old cars, and so that's really what the intent is, to do that. So when I got the license, it was 4-car. What that does in my eyes is it limits the inventory I can have. And so my father, through the years, has been 80-90% restoration and maybe 20% sales. I'm going to go the other way. I have a body shop in Charlton as well, and so we'll do any paint and body work over there. I want to make that 80-90% sales, maybe some mechanical work on the old cars. My father's still up there. By the way, he's still up there tinkering with Model A's and Packards and whatnot. So he's still actively involved, except for when he's in Florida. But in any event, that's my goal, is to make it that. So with the inventory, if I'm going to do this full-time and real, I need more than 4 cars in inventory. And so I looked at it and I said, well, the way the restrictions were worded, well, what if we did 6 cars outside? Because I wouldn't want to not be able to have any cars outside. It is a 5,000 square foot building, so technically we could have 20 cars inside easily. And so the license, is, I think at 16, the request is for 10 inside, 6 outside, and that just allows me to have inventory on the books, because we're supposed to keep a log of all the cars you have. And that way, I think that's adequate for me to allow, and I'm not going to be a used car dealer. We're continuing to do pre-war cars, the 1930s. We have a 32 Cadillac V12, convertible coupe there. We've got some, just that era car, and that's the future. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, Rafe, I was just pulling up on Google Earth just so we can see.
Yeah.
I think the concern was, perhaps over the years that have gone by, many of us drive down Lake Street and we could see that there were cars that were in a state of disrepair.
Yeah.
Stored outside, and that I think raised some of the concerns, which is why the board had limited it to 4. So why don't I just open it up for questions now that we've heard. So you'd be looking for 6 on the outside?
Yep.
And 10 on the inside?
10 on the inside.
Why don't I open it up to questions?
Yeah, I think it makes more sense now that we have you in front of us and sharing what your plans are going forward, because sometimes when we're limited to reviewing just the application on a piece of paper in front of us, we don't get the full scope and idea behind, or the intent behind it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, yeah.
What are the 6 outdoor vehicles going to be compared to the 10 inside?
Not classic. So, I mean, if we had a 50s or 60s car or something like that, something that could be weathered. Most of what we have right now, I really don't have anything that would be outside. But I wouldn't want to limit it to not be able to put a car out there and put a for sale sign on it, for somebody in town, somebody on the lake. There's a number of cars that I'm looking for people on the lake right now. So I know, there's a market there for that type of car. So the idea of the 6 cars outside would allow me to do that.
So it wouldn't necessarily restrict you to antique cars or older classic cars. You'd actually look to do some more modern cars if you had them, or?
Not as a rule, that's not my goal.
Because we're trying to find out, I think, is this going to be a typical used car?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not. Now, I don't want to say I'm never going to have a car out there for sale. It's a dealer's license, and I have my own personal cars, and, there's no question about that, I wouldn't want to rule that out. But even on, the outside, if I keep it neat and clean, at the end of the day, you could probably fit 10 cars in that lot, based on the standards you see for a lot of other used car lots. I'm not, if you look at some of, other used car lots, that's not what I want it to look like. We're going to have full classic cars, pre-war cars in the garage, and that's the clientele in the business that I'm looking to continue.
Ray, if we restricted it in some ways, say like there's no cars that are being worked on outdoors and things like that, would you have any issues with
Nope.
a restriction like that?
No, and I think, along the whole side of the building, there's enough room for 4 or 5 cars. So if I had something that was a parts car or something, I can hide it well enough in the back, like you put it in the back, where that wouldn't be an issue. No, I want it to look as presentable as possible as well. That's so anything in that regard is more of the inventory being allowed to have that was the challenge.
So you'd be doing no restoration on site?
Not paint body, because at my shop in Charlton, I have a $150,000,
Okay.
spray booth.
But you would be doing restoration minus the paint and...
Minus paint, yeah. The restoration would still happen, with motors and, there's a lot of stuff there that, I'm not going to get my father to go to Charlton.
And of course, all that was being done inside the building.
It's all inside, yeah, nothing
You'll have
outside.
no leaks because you have a new roof.
Right, yeah. Yeah, yep.
Further questions? So the request would be to allow up to 6 cars in front and 10 cars
Inside.
either inside or behind, or you?
Yeah, that's fine. No, inside's
Yeah,
fine.
Trying to figure out what you'd be
No,
looking
inside's
for.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 6 cars up front instead of 4, and 10 cars on the inside. Any further questions of Ray? Not an entertaining motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request to modify the license to allow 6 outdoor vehicles and 10 vehicles indoors,
Thank you.
For a total of 16.
That are
for a total
saleable or-
of 16
That are saleable?
For sale, right?
that are saleable.
Yeah, yep. that would
Correct.
be-
Cars that you've taken in and...
No, because they'll give us some room to work on a few, and, right.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? So this would be for 16 cars in total. That would be for sale, 6 of which would be allowed to be put on the outside in the front parking lot, 10 inside. Any further discussion? Doug, would you pull the board, please?
Selectman Claybert?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Gamor?
Yes?
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Ray, thanks for
Great.
coming in.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
That for us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Next on the agenda, request to approve a one-day liquor license for the Friends of the Gladys Kelly Library, 2 Lake Street, Webster, Mass., for a community event Friday, October 1st, 2021, and Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, thus the 2 one-day licenses. And I think Tom has said he's going to recuse.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Yeah. Chairman, can I just talk to those on Zoom real quick? So they're here for our executive session. I'm expecting there will be another 30 minutes before we get there, so, or close to it.
Yep.
Just so you're aware.
Do you want to give them a call when we're ready? It's up to them.
Yeah, I'll text you when we're getting close.
Chief
I don't know if
Shaw-
you're listening, but.
Chief Shaw, Attorney Donnelly, do you hear any of this? Okay, well,
They're not paying attention
hopefully,
anyway, so we're good.
hopefully, they can hang on the line if they want.
Yeah.
Rejoin us. So, this is the request. Any questions on this? I know we've done this in the past. So this would be for 2 one-day liquor licenses.
And just to the chair, Doug, do we know if this has gone through the normal process with the police chief signing off on
Yeah.
whether or not details are required, since that's standard for us?
Okay. Any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2 one-day liquor licenses for the Friends of the Gladys C. Kelly Public Library Incorporated for October 1st, 2021 and October 2nd, 2021.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This will be an indoor, these will be indoor events?
Yes.
Do we know?
Thanks for coming.
We actually only really meet the Friday night one. We're not serving liquor on Saturday.
Well, we'll give you the extra option.
If it goes to 12:01, we're okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a family day on Saturday, so I don't think we'll be serving liquor.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions?
Okay. Doug, would you pull the board, please?
Selectman Claybert? Abstain?
recused
He's
myself.
abstaining.
Yeah. Recused, yes.
Abstain.
Selectman Contos?
Approve.
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Very much, folks. Have a good evening.
You too.
Next is request to approve a one-day liquor license for Shakespeare in the Park, 35 Davis Street, Webster, for Friday, August 20th. You going to let Carol speak to this, or will it be Doug? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that needs to be said.
Yeah, I think
but-
we've had these in the past.
Yeah.
Any questions on them?
Yep, and this one's gone through the police chief as well.
Be a BYO.
Is it a BYOB or you're not? BYOB. Okay. I'm not serving anybody. Yeah, I didn't think so.
Should we include that if we desire in a motion, that it's a BYOB?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion, therefore.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve a one-day BYOB license, liquor license for Shakespeare in the Park to be held at 35 Davis Street, Webster, Mass. On Friday, August 20th, 2021.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Doug, would you pull the board, please?
Selectman Claybert?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Next item, request to discharge the mortgage and allow the new owner to assume the terms and conditions of the affordable housing restriction on 60 Lake Street, Webster. This it should be on page 91 of our books.
Yeah, so this house was done about, 13 years ago. And so there's a 30-year covenant on it. There's 17 years left. So the new owners, the purchasers, will maintain all the covenants, so it will still be affordable, restricted until the end of that term. The people purchasing it, I believe their name is Prospect Estates, but they own and operate, is it the old school on Prospect Street? So they're local, they know what they're doing, they operate that property well, it's always well maintained. So I think this would be good for the board to support this and allow the new owner to take over the affordable housing restrictions.
Thank you, Doug. Questions? I did have one, which was in the first paragraph of Carol's letter. It talks about a grant. So did we apply through the state and then that was a grant, not a loan?
Correct. So if they were to sell it without the restrictions, then there would be a penalty and they'd have to pay it back. But because the restrictions will be maintained, there's no repayment of any funding that they received.
Then does when that original loan or grant was made, does that come through some kind of a revolver from the town?
Yeah, so they did this in the past a lot more, where they would provide loans and they'd have to get them paid back. Now, most of them are just they're loans, but they're forgiven once the terms have all been met. And so we do a few of these, but most of them, the terms are completed and we don't ever get the money back.
And generally speaking, the money comes from the state?
Yeah, it's all CDBG money.
Pass through
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Those are all my questions. Any further questions for Doug? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that to discharge the mortgage and allow the new owner to assume the terms and conditions of the affordable housing restriction on 60 Lake Street, Webster, Mass.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Doug, would you pull the board, please?
Selectman Claybert?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Next item, vote to open the warrant for the annual town meeting Monday, October 18th, 2021 at 7 PM with a closing date of September 30th, 2021 at noon for submission of articles or citizens petitions.
So that's actually a typo. It should be August 30th.
Okay. August 30th instead of September 30th.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah, it'd be a little too close.
Yeah.
We would have to go down to North Carolina and grab you and bring you back.
Yes. Yeah, this will keep me busy my last week putting together a warrant.
I'll make a motion to open the warrant for the annual town meeting on Monday, October 18th, 2021 at 7 PM with a closing date of August 30th, 2021 at noon for submission of articles or citizens petitions.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Doug, would you pull the board, please?
Selectman Claybert?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Next item, request to enter into an agreement with Greg Belcitos as acting interim town administrator. So we did, Andrew forwarded the information to us earlier today. Thank you to Andrew and Earl for meeting on this item, meeting with Doug as well, to come up with the agreement. So we have the agreement. I just have to pull it up on a separate folder here. Any questions while I'm bringing it?
Yeah, question on, under witnesseth, under the second whereas, should that section 4.2 be section 4.4?
Pretty sure it's 4-2.
Or is it 4 dash? Because it does say under duties 4-2. We'll see if Doug has his pocket charter in his computer.
I haven't seen this yet, so.
Okay, yeah, so this was sent this morning. It's a
Up above it says pursuant to the town charter, section 4-4, and then down below it says under section 4.2 of the town charter.
So section
First sentence.
Section 4-2 is the powers and duties of the town administrator. Section 4-4 is the authority to appoint a temporary town administrator.
Okay.
Lisa, can I send this to you right now, or actually you can look at it?
No, I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, I did send it to both personal and.
I just,
Yeah,
Not a
just didn't
problem.
get a chance to look at it.
Not a problem.
So, it's fairly straightforward. I think, Andrew, if you want to talk, you use the base of what Mr. Belcitos used.
Yeah, we took the base agreement that he had with the previous town that he was with. We had Doug make a few edits, did have Brian Mazur from Copeland and Page review it, and he recommended a few minor changes, which were incorporated. The two areas that were of concern by Mr. Belcitos was the rate of pay. He's asking for $90 per hour.
And Andrew, that was at $85, if I remember.
Correct, at the previous community he was at. His reasoning was Webster is a little bit larger, it has a little bit more involved than what the prior community that he's coming from had. And then the only other thing he did ask that we change was under section 7B. He just asked for, it had previously asked for to be compensated if he had to.
Per diem rate.
He asked for a per diem rate. That way, if we have.
Instead of an hourly, I guess.
Instead of an hourly rate, he's just covered for a full day. If there were to be a lawsuit and after he is terminated, he would commit for the full day to do whatever was needed.
So basically, if he's named or if he's needed to defend, we would pay him.
A per diem rate instead of an hourly rate.
So the only question that I had in here was, we don't really define per diem rate.
Correct.
So would that be 7 hours?
That was our conversation with Greg. We said, if we're going to put in a per diem rate, we need to define what the per diem is. And I would be, since he's going to work 20 hours a week, I would say 7 hours would be the per diem.
I was thinking more that it would be averaged out over, if truly is 20 hours, it'd be, and it's 3 days, that it would be 7 hours, yeah.
Yeah, that's just a suggestion. We may just want to, if we're looking to approve this tonight, we may want to approve it with that open item.
Absolutely.
Just to clarify, so that when we meet again with Mr. Valiakonis in 2 weeks,
Yeah,
we'll get that squared away. in
yeah,
the
he
contract.
was, I believe, for some reason, we thought that we were going to have a separate meeting with him on the 16th in front of the board.
Okay, and we could certainly, if he's available for that, that's perfectly
Yes,
fine.
that's what
Would
he
be,
was,
yes.
that's what he was planning on.
Just for clarification, the 20 hours per
Mr.
week,
Burke?
would the attendance of the Board of Selectmen meetings and Finance be above and beyond that, or is that part of the 20?
No, so the way he explained it to us is on those days where he has meetings scheduled, he would come in a little bit later on in the day. That way he keeps to as close to 20 hours per week as
Okay.
possible.
Yeah, so I think what still may need to be figured out as he starts his work here, is it going to be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Is it going to be a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, cut back in there so that he can attend this meeting or Finance Committee? So I think that's all going to, get itself worked out. Could there be some weeks that are 24 hours? Sure,
Right.
and that's why
I
you have
mean,
an hour.
we want to average 20 because it's part-time.
Right.
And so, yeah,
That keeps him under the part-time definition.
yeah.
Correct.
And it does give him some advantages being part-time, being an employee, as opposed to being an independent contractor at his previous, because he would have to pay his FICA, Social Security taxes, et cetera, where now the town will pay the employer portion of it. So, and it's probably fair to say we're a little more complicated than Blackstone, is it?
Yes.
I think so.
Don't worry, I'm going to leave him a lot, so he'll be real busy.
Any other
I
questions
heard you
on
stopped
the,
working last week.
he's on, yeah,
And the other thing that we did talk to him about was instead of paying mileage, we were going to give him use of the vehicle that Doug will be leaving behind and 1 tank of gas at the town pump.
that was.
He
it.
was fine with that, yeah.
And he was completely okay with that.
And Doug, with regards to how you report that now, do you get to use your car for personal use, or is it
I
de
do.
minimis personal use?
It's de minimis, but yeah, yes, so
He has to sign an agreement on the car.
yeah,
You'll have to fight over it for that week of overlap.
he can have it.
Okay, any other questions
He'll
on
have to
him?
clean it, though.
So it's noteworthy that the term is open so that we have some,
Yeah.
hopefully it all works out, and by early February, late January, we'll have a new town administrator. So that's why it doesn't have an end period in here. So it'll be flexible to the appointment of the new town administrator. And then just again, for the audience, it's $90 an hour, expected to work no more than 20 hours per week, with an indemnification clause, which is standard. And this has been reviewed by Brian Mazur from KMP. Any further questions?
And the other thing to point out for the residents that may be watching or listening, as a part-time employee, he wouldn't be eligible for any of the normal benefits such as vacation time or sick time.
Okay, further comments or questions?
So we're meeting next Monday to approve this with him, or?
Yeah, that was what we had thought. We were going to have a meeting on the 16th
Okay.
with him at 6 PM with the board so that he can meet the entire board. That way we can make any changes with him and get that approved before the last week of August.
Yep.
If you have to run and do other things on the 16th, I wasn't
I-
sure timing-wise.
That'll be fine.
So we have a mixed meeting on the 16th?
So our next meeting would, when we get to the agenda, will be on the 16th rather than the 23rd.
Oh, okay.
That-
So not the 23rd, the 16th
twen-
instead?
Not the 23rd, it'll be next Monday, the 16th.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that meeting.
So no meeting on the 23rd.
That's what,
Well, yeah, or do we just want to do a quick meeting with him on the 16th and then do our next regular full meeting on the 23rd?
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's really necessary
Okay.
to do the 16th.
Okay.
We can certainly let him know that he's got a week's reprieve
Okay.
for meeting with us. assuming he'll be able to make it, we can find
Yes.
that out after the meeting.
Absolutely.
You know, because I think Tom has a conflict.
Okay, not a problem.
It would be nice to have all of us
Yes, absolutely.
meet Greg. We will not be able to do what Kenny did and say we're better than other towns. Because he does come from Dudley, so we'll have to be careful with that. But any further discussion on approving the interim town administrator agreement? Again, thank you to Andrew and Earl for working on this and with Doug as well.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement with Greg Balukonis as acting interim town administrator.
Second?
Okay, motion and a second, and if I could, I'm just
Wait.
going to say as presented.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll amend that to say as presented.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
And just to clarify, that's to include the
Clarification
definition
for the per
of
diem.
Per diem.
of per diem.
Yes. So we'll just need to leave that open. Again, I'll ask you if we can amend your motion, that it'll include leaving the discussion on per diem definition open. You can just say, okay.
Amended as just stated by the chairman.
Thanks, Lisa, sorry. Tom, you're okay with that?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Gotta
Good
repeat it.
points, thank you. Any further discussion? Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claybert?
Yes?
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes, good thing we'd have to do this all the time. Discussion on new town administrators' job description, goals, and attributes. So this was put on to, get the selectmen's points across as far as what we're looking for. Doug was, again, kind enough, if we open the package that he sent titled TA hiring information, and Doug is trying to help us out here. He's got the, kind of the timeline, that first page, if we all have that.
Yeah.
Yes.
The next page just kind of, I think, talks about what a potential MMA ad might look like. I'd want to dress it up a little more. This is kind of dry.
So they all are on MMA.
But, yeah, well, we'll comment on it in a minute.
Yeah.
And then, the next page is, next 3 pages, the actual job description. So I think it's important for this board to approve the job description so that we can then give that to the screening committee. And then they'll be able to use that going forward in their process. And then on page 6 through 11, I thought this was great. Kind of highlighting the town, highlighting the job. And I think that's something that the screening committee can then, in their ad, include a link to a page like this, which would, I think, better describe
well
the
done.
town than that dry MMA tombstone kind of a template. So, if we could, why don't we talk a little bit about the information that Doug has presented here.
So first of all, the hiring process, that first page, it's fairly aggressive, but it could be more aggressive if the screening committee was really on the ball and interviewed everyone in like a week's time. But I thought this was pretty realistic.
Yep, it's a nice Christmas present for the town if we can get all this done by the appointment, at least by the 20th, and then finalize the contract.
Yeah.
And there's a month in between the, contract. They may be able to start sooner, later, we just don't know. But a month is usually a good time to give notice. Next page.
Yeah, this would be the dry posting that we put places where you're paid by the word, so.
Yeah, the only suggestion I had, Doug, was at the very bottom, that second to the last line with the www Webster. Just send, somehow say confidential. Send resume and cover letter confidentially, because obviously people want to hear that.
Yeah,
So if you can blend some of that word confidential in there somewhere. And then, I would suggest too, a link to the page, if you can create that nice 6-page document that you have there, have them have a link to that. And of course, Earl, this, you've been on the search committee, I was on the search committee, so these would go confidentially to the TA search at Webster, Mass. That way, people are not aware outside of the screening committee who is applying. And we'll have an opportunity, I think, once the screening committee is formally appointed, we'll ask them to come on in once they have a chair,
Yeah,
vice
idea.
chair, and have that kind of talk about, what we're looking for,
Yeah.
what kind of guidance we could give, and especially, talk about the confidential nature of a screening committee role. Anything else on that? Sorry, Doug, the dry MMA type?
Nope, that's good. Well, actually, so the minimum qualifications, so in the charter, it's, what it states there is pretty confusing. So I kind of updated language. I think it still meets the intent of the charter, but I just wanted to be very upfront that that is not word for word from the charter.
But I think you include in there, that an MPA or equivalent is preferred. I think if we had our druthers, we would want to have someone with a master's in public administration or like.
Yeah, so,
Doesn't mean they can't apply.
right. So I remember when I applied, I thought, it's like, it was confusing. It made it seem like you had to have been a town administrator for 5 years to even apply.
Oh.
And so I was like, well, I'll just throw my hat in. Who knows? Like, I don't think they're going to get a lot of people with 5 years experience. So that's why I stated it that way. And I think that's appropriate to what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think in that paragraph, the second line says, and 5 years of progressive management experience, at a department head level. Because I think in your case, you came in as an assistant town manager.
So, all right.
And I think we have time. We don't have to, obviously, make a decision tonight, on this information. We're just seeing it tonight. We can, they're not going to be posting.
No.
So I think at our next meeting, and what we'll do is we'll take a little more time, go through this, and give any more thoughts, if that's okay, given the hour, and we've got a little more work to do.
Yeah. So I'll just real quick, on the full job posting, the essential functions there comes directly from the charter.
There was a little typo there on G, Doug, just that last sentence before H, there's an 18 for somewhere in there, for some reason.
Huh? Yep.
You can just remove the 18,
It's probably page 18 of the charter.
probably.
And I don't know if this is a typo, but I think it is the FLSA, isn't it FSLA?
There's Standards Labor Act?
I think it's
I think you are, it is.
Labor Act, yeah.
Yeah, just,
Fair labor's, I'll double check.
I think it's FSLA.
Yeah, and there's a couple others I have in here, but, we'll get a little more time to take a look at this if we could. But
Yeah.
thank you, Doug, for getting all this together, especially that write-up. I think,
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, the brochure at the end, I mean, I took some liberties, so feel free to suggest any changes.
I know one on page 8, you will have to correctly spell the name of the lake. But we won't demerit you too badly for.
That's how Wikipedia spells it?
We will have to go post and edit.
Have to,
Okay,
I don't
so
know if
we'll,
I trust Wikipedia anymore then.
yeah, well, yeah, everybody trusts Wikipedia, right? Okay with that? We can move on to, we'll bring this up at our next meeting. And next item, Town Administrator Report. Doug, you handed us a copy of that?
I did. Oh, I didn't update the activities coming up, but the biggest activity of the year, or one of them, the Shakespeare in the Park, is coming up on August 20th, so a couple Fridays from now. That is a fun and very well-done event. So last week, we did have the shooting in town. Chief Shaw is on the thing if he wants to jump in, but the shooter is known. There is a warrant out for the arrest. Don't want to go into too many details, but it's not like there's someone running free that...
So as they say, this was not a random act.
No, it was a known parties, and I'll just leave it at that. So the coronavirus, We are seeing the effects of the Delta variant now, so we've had about 10 cases each of the last 3 weeks. A couple of them have been breakthrough cases where the person was vaccinated, but so far, no serious illnesses from those two that have been breakthrough cases.
Was the preponderance of the cases non-vaccinated people?
The rest were all non-vaccinated.
Most of them were?
Most of them, yeah, like 95%.
You get data on hospitalization, or non-hospitalized?
No. Doug, kind of under that, we don't have a health agent, we're looking for a health agent. Can you give us an update on, obviously we celebrated or recognized
Yeah.
Jen.
So Jen is still working, she'll be doing it part-time, nights and weekends to help us through the rest of COVID. And then some of the other like nuisances and things like that, I'll handle for now. I think the posting closes next week for the health director. We do have some very good applicants. I was pleasantly surprised. I did not think we were going to get anyone. But we should be able to maybe not have them started before I leave, but at least have someone offered a position in the works.
And we do have a couple people that are helping.
Yeah. So, right. Jen will be able to help. We do have some nurses that we have contracts with to, do the contact tracing and other follow-up.
Thank you.
All right. So I mentioned the Shakespeare in the Park under finances.
Where is that? That's
at French River Park.
Okay.
Under finances, it's actually a slow time of year for me for the finances, a very, very busy time for the rest of the finance team because they're closing out the rest of the last fiscal year, which this year is extra complicated with all the federal money that came in and having to approve the CARES money. So it'll keep Tim and Tina and Mark busy. Under economic development, we're trying to finish up all these things with the process. One problem we're having is that we have this ARPA money from the state or from the federal government, but we want to spend some of it on businesses, but the restrictions and the how to spend it on different businesses has not been clarified, and so we don't want to go handing out grants to people and then have them to pay them back or have them somehow ineligible and the town has to pick up that cost, something like that. So we've been holding back. I've been reaching out to other town managers, see how they handle it, and we're all in the same boat. No one really feels comfortable spending the ARPA money on anything but water and sewer infrastructure, so.
Is there a restriction on time-wise on that?
It's like 3 years.
3 years.
Okay, so infrastructure, South Main is complete except for the line painting. That'll happen later this month. The roof, we've figured everything out with the additional repairs. Now just the crew was reassigned somewhere else, and now they're going to come back and finish it up. Hill Street, Dudley has been looking into a temporary bridge option and working with Mass DOT. So as that progresses, I'll keep you updated. The water mains, there's the write-up from our last report, but they're continuing to work and everything's going fairly well. There was a big push to get everything completed in front of St. Joe's School while it's still somewhere and the kids aren't in. The Granite Street full depth reclaim, that the bids have come back, so they are going to start that project at the end of this month. And the second phase of East Main Sidewalks is out to bid. The bids close before I leave, so we'll get that awarded and hopefully start in September. And I don't remember if I mentioned this, but there's a MVP program. It stands for Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness. So we got $25,000 for a planning grant, which is supposed to help the town combat environment-related catastrophes or hazards, a lot of global warming related things. So a lot of towns use this. And then after you do the planning portion, you can apply for construction money. So if you needed to update culverts or something like that, this is a way you can fund that in the future.
Doug, just to, go ahead.
On the Granite Street, is that going to go into next year? Seeing that it's not going to start till September?
They'll finish up to, is it Cutler Street? So they'll,
Yeah.
yeah, so, yeah, from coming
they'll
late to Cutler, they'll
Lake
do.
to Cutler?
They'll do this year, Cutler to
East Main.
East Main will be next year.
Doug, on the grants, one of the many things you've done well is getting grants. How do we continue that without you here?
Well, you just need to be aggressive about it, but there is a state website that I go check every couple of months to see what grants are coming up, and so I'll make sure that other people know about that and check it. That's how we find out about most of them. And then also, now that we applied for all of them, it's like, oh yeah, we got this one, we can apply again for it.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, Carol also wants to do another park grant very soon. So I'm
I
back.
assume that, Carol, that the reason the floats were out, the water park, was because of this weekend was sitting on shore was because of the triathlon?
Yes, yeah. So those will go back in. Well, I mean, we're almost done with the season, but yeah. I think I told the board that we did have one that was stabbed and deflated. We also had a very serious injury. A little girl broke her leg. So that seems to be working out okay, but well.
There's nothing that the town could have done. I mean,
No, it's just a freak accident.
it's unfortunate. But
Yeah. So Tom started as our water sewer superintendent since our last meeting. He was a little overwhelmed, but he's been doing a good job.
the guy that hired him is just going to leave now?
Oh, he was kind of like, I don't think I would have taken the job if I knew that. But he has stayed, so that was good.
I can echo his thoughts.
Yeah,
I've been down to see him a couple times to make sure he's okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it might be nice just in the next month or so just to be able to meet him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, that's true. Earl's met him on the Water Sewer Commission. And we are working towards hiring the 2 public health employees on the regional basis. I mentioned the health director position. We did completed the union negotiations with the dispatch and in coordination with the town of Dudley. We have a new online bill pay system that will go into effect next month. It's way better than the current system, and you'll be able to create accounts, be able to look in the past bills, you can print them out, you can
awesome.
print it out for your taxes or
You can
things
get
like
bills
that.
in your email instead of,
You can't
snail
even
mail.
do that, yeah. So
Right.
Doug, you said you could go back. Does that mean they're going to load prior
they'll
payment
load,
data, at least a year or two in there?
I think, yeah, at least 2 years. I can't remember exactly.
That's
but,
important.
Yeah. And that's about it. It's been crazy busy. You leave your job, everybody asks you for stuff.
Well, they'll probably keep asking after September 3rd, too.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions for Doug? If not, I'd accept the motion to approve the town administrator report.
Motion to accept the town administrator's report?
Second?
Motion is second. Further discussion? Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claybert.
Yes.
Selectman Contos.
Yes.
Selectman Gabor.
yes.
Selectman Jolda.
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. And next item is executive session under number 3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. Areas or cases we're dealing with: Ralph v. Town of Webster et al., Boone Fossaison versus Town of Webster et al., Finnemore versus Town of Webster et al., Town versus Boisvert, 529 South Main Street, and lastly, Church of the Firstborn, etc., versus the Town of Webster, as noted on the agenda.
Andy, I think you're on mute. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so we need to just take a a motion, and we will look to re-enter regular session for the purpose of closing out the meeting.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session under purpose number 3.
As noted. Yep.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Doug, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Claver,
Yes.
Selectman Contos,
Yes.
Selectman Gabor,
Yes.
Selectman Jolda,
Yes.
Chairman Becker.
Yes. And gentlemen, if you give us a minute, Carol will shut the meeting down.